Um, Today we have a really special guest that I want to introduce you to. His name is Glen Keith, and he's the most recent and exciting executive director over at Love Inc. of the Cedar Valley. We are very, very excited to hear from him. I'll hand it off in just a minute. And what he'll share a little bit more about their programs and the resources that they're providing. They are offering some back to school supplies here and some stores here in the Cedar Valley. So he'll be able to touch on that a little bit. At the end of the presentation, for those of you who are around a lot, we always have time for Q&A. So if you have any questions that pop up during the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be kind of monitoring the chat so that Glenn doesn't need to. And that way, once we're ready, probably quarter till or so, we'll open it up for Q&A and Glenn can start to take a look at the questions that you maybe have had throughout the presentation. So feel free to drop those there. And without further ado, Glenn, we are looking forward to hearing from you.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Glenn, and thank you for the introduction, Aaron. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to bring up a presentation here to share, if everybody can be patient there. All right. So, first of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today and wanting to learn more about this incredible community we live in here in Waterloo and the Cedar Valley in general. And a little bit about my background. I spent the majority of my professional life as a soldier. I'm a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel. I taught at East High School for 5 years. I worked with my wife. My wife is an attorney here in town, Michelle Jungers. Some of you may have ran into her. She served in multiple capacities and also was with Iowa Legal Aid. So felt a calling for a new job in life, and here I am at Love Inc. of the Cedar Valley. And we are here. This is our mission statement. We mobilize the local church to transform lives and communities in the name of Christ. And you're going to see later in this presentation, we've been in existence here in the Cedar Valley since 2009, but we are an international organization. We're located throughout the United States and in Kenya, and we'll talk a little bit about the impact. And one of your questions is, what does mobilization look like? What does that look like? So I'm going to here's a slide uh, from our back to school stores last week. So it looks like this. It looks like 43 churches in our network who come together and they collect school supplies. And then we host those school supply stores at 3 different churches. Some of the churches are partnered with other churches to actually put on this event. And we have parents that we have connected with through Love Inc. Calling in who, with needed resources, and we schedule them for a back to school store. And it's just not a give out of a backpack. We actually uh, invite the families in. They get to pick out. We'll have all the different school supply lists for all the various schools here in the Cedar Valley, and they get to walk through the store and shop for their items. And at the end of that shopping, they'll pay $10 for those school supplies, and they'll grab a snack bag and interact with some folks from the church that's hosting that. And some of the questions I get is like, well, why do you charge $10? And this goes back to you'll see this in the presentation, our redemptive compassion model, where we one of our principles is to require mutual participation. And I like to share that there's so much value when a child is watching their parent actually pay for their school supplies, even as they don't know the dollar amount or how small that amount may be. But and that parent walks away saying, "I am the provider," and that dignity in putting stuff forward to provide for their children. So this is what mobilization looks like, and you'll see a few of these slides for some of these one-time events that we do throughout the Cedar Valley. So I want to hand it over to Erin because she's got a great video that gives a great overview of the of Love Inc. in general.
The Cedar Valley is a pretty good place to live. We've got a diverse economy, arts and music, good schools. We've got neighborhoods with parks and churches, and we've got people who care about their community. But if you listen closely, you can hear the voices of people who are struggling.
Everything was fine until I got sick.
Never have I seen the water so high.
I work 2 jobs, but it never seems to be enough.
I left home when I was 17. I've made some mistakes.
There's all kinds of ways to get down, and once you're down, it's really hard to get back up.
I've always believed in, helping overseas or other missions, whatever, but I kept seeing more and more need right here in our Cedar Valley.
Hi, this is Jackie from Love in the Name of Christ. How are you today?
Love in the Name of Christ exists to mobilize local churches to transform lives and the Cedar Valley in the name of Christ. When we match people in need with Christians who can help, relationships are built that model the love of Christ.
And I guess as far as a friendship is concerned, it's just evolved over time.
I look forward to my appointment with Glennis. She always has a story about something going on in her personal life with her family or her daughter or her church.
The thing about churches is that they're full of people who want to help, but churches are faith organizations. They aren't really set up as relief agencies. So when someone goes to a church for help, it can be frustrating for the person who can't get their need met and for the church that wants to help but isn't equipped to do so. So the cool thing about Love Inc. is that churches can work together, each one specializing in the outreach that they're good at. And with Love Inc. handling the administration, we can all serve more people more effectively. And that's good stewardship of our resources. When someone approaches a member church for assistance, they are referred to Love in the Name of Christ. The Love Inc. office acts as a clearinghouse that matches the need with the local congregation that's best equipped to help.
And coming through one central point, that saves the clients a lot of time. It saves every church a lot of time because they aren't having to process each one of these individually. We're doing it for them. And we're verifying all the information. So everything, we know we're helping the people who are most in need and really need those resources.
The heart of Love Inc. is our people, volunteers and staff working in the field, in their churches, and here at the Love Inc. office.
I know they have some excellent volunteers that work in the office too. So.
Yeah, the ladies are beautiful. And they have prayed with me. Even the ones have prayed with me on the phone.
We value each person seeking help. We see them as a child of God, someone to be loved, not as a problem to be solved.
The very first day that I volunteered, it was real to me. You start the people you're helping are not a statistic any longer. They're a story. They're somebody that could be you if you just had a run of bad luck.
When they place that first call to Love Inc., they're greeted by a volunteer who's trained to have a conversation that explores their immediate need, as well as other factors that may help us lead them back to a position of stability. Our volunteers and our supporters are people of faith. Christ is always a part of the process.
You know that we serve a big God and He will provide.
There are lots of ways that Love Inc. reaches out through our partner churches, from rent and utility assistance to transportation, supplemental food assistance, infant and toddler supplies, home maintenance, and more. We try to be there in the time of need, whatever the need, offering help and hope.
We give the hand up because the mission is to transform lives, not keep people where they're at. We are transforming lives through Christ's love.
If the heart of Love in the Name of Christ is our volunteers, then the soul of Love Inc. is transforming lives. Love in the Name of Christ is launching transformational ministries to assist clients in learning how to overcome their situations with renewed personal confidence and backed by the power of prayer and the support of a faith community. At the same time, our staff is transformed too, as they take stock of the blessings in their lives and experience the joy of sharing God's love.
I am blessed by it. Met many people. I thought I'd be blessing other people, but that's not the case. I am blessed.
You definitely can make an impact in your local community and make that personal connection with people in your community.
Well, I give the credit to God. He's been beautiful. And like I said, He always send the right people around me or whatever, like Jim, you know.
The Cedar Valley is a great place to live, and one of the things that makes it great is the people of God working together, reaching out to each other, and transforming lives. That's love in the name of Christ.
This is a brief summary of the presentation. So Love Inc. leans into the strengths and resources of our church community here in the Cedar Valley and elsewhere. As our faith teaches us as a Christian, that we love our neighbors and we care for our neighbors. And as you can see here on the top left-hand corner, uh, naturally a lot of folks will go to a church and say, "Hey, I need help. I need assistance." And it can be kind of in a disarray or not coordinated, and or you go to a church building, it could be closed or they don't provide that, and or folks may be hitting the same different churches for the same item, and the person behind them may not have that because it's already being given out. So Love Inc., we foster that collaboration across all our churches. So some churches have a passion and a love for children or for babies. I would say First United Methodist Church, they host our baby ministry, which diapers and other items that they collect as a church. Another church may have a passion for medical and healthcare, and Bethlehem Lutheran, they host our medical ministry. They have bathroom stats for people that are disabled, walkers, all kinds of equipment like that. And so it allows them to lean into their gifts and talents. And then Love Inc. We have 6 staff, 3 full-time and 3 part-time. We host about 175 volunteers at any one time in a month between our church partners and within our office to connect people, our neighbors in need, to those resources at the various churches. And if so it really leans into the church's gifts and talents and resources, and it's a coordinated effort. So we're not stepping on each other's toes, and the churches can also then focus on their congregations and things that that they serve well in. And you're like, well, who are the churches here in the Cedar Valley? These are our 43 church partners throughout the Cedar Valley. I'll give you a time. If you attend a church here in the Cedar Valley and you don't see the name up there, make sure to message Aaron, because I'd love to connect with your pastor or your council or elders, and show them an opportunity to serve their community in a way that's coordinated and meaningful. So mobilization, what does it look like? It looks like this. We host Christmas stores in December. We hosted 3 this past December with 6 churches that collect toys. We had 665 families who were able to provide gifts to their children at a small discount. We mobilized about 200 volunteers from our 43 church partners who would come into our call center multiple times a week to contact these families to verify their family makeup, and to identify which church, or what time, what location would best fit their schedules. And then during the actual stores, you'll have anywhere from maybe 30 to 100 volunteers that are welcoming families into their space, and they have an actual store, and families get to walk through the store and purchase gifts at anywhere from $2, $4 to $6 each, with the actual range of prices are $10 to $50. And as previously discussed, this is an opportunity for parents to shop while their children are maybe in some structured care within the church. Meals are provided. And again, that goes back to that redemptive compassion principle of mutual participation, folks providing for their families, and a great opportunity to connect with various resources in our community. I want to share a personal story from our Christmas on Walnut. This is Orchard Hill. They had a volunteer who a lady pulled her to the side. It was a grandmother, pulled her to the side and said, that's my daughter there, and those are my 3 grandbabies. And every year I have purchased toys on behalf of my daughter to give to my grandbabies. And my grandbabies never knew they were from me. They thought they were from Mom or Santa Claus. And she goes, "This is the first year in 9 years that my daughter bought toys for her own children. And you do not know the impact that's made on her and how she feels that she's a provider for her family." So that's just a personal story that was so impactful, just from that one Christmas store being repeated across the Cedar Valley. So this is what Love Inc. looks like nationally. We are mobilizing almost 6,000 churches across the United States. We started in the late 70s out of Michigan. You can see Michigan has a lot of Love Incs. And the Midwest in general. Here within Iowa, we have 4 Love Incs. We have one here, one in Oskaloosa, Sheldon, and in Sioux County. We've got one in development in Des Moines, and we have one that's in discussion in Dickinson County. And we also have 12 Love Inc. affiliates in Kenya. As you can see, the impact, almost a half million met needs across our nation through the generosity and the mobilization of the church. This last year, here in the Cedar Valley in 2023, at that time we had 41 churches. We met almost 4,000 needs, whether that's financial needs, prayer needs, or physical needs. The financial needs, we always do that on a cost share basis. Every neighbor in need, if they need a water bill paid, or if they need automobile repair, or some other need that's a financial assistance, we always do that on a cost share basis. So that means they put a fourth a portion, and Love Inc. puts forth a portion. And these dollars come from about 50% of those dollars come from our churches, and 50% will come from our various grants and other individual donations. We mobilize, as I said before, about 175 volunteers across our church network, and we'll have those high points during the school and Christmas stores. We're mobilizing almost 500 folks. We also, it goes beyond basic needs. We have transformation sessions. We call it Begin Now and Alpha. We hosted 58 class sessions. We had 103 neighbors in need that completed a 10-week session with us. And I'll discuss a little bit more what that looks like. But we had about anywhere from 200 to 250 actually attend some sessions. Those 103 are ones that actually completed a 10-week session, which means they attended 7 or more out of 10 weeks. And it's a pretty incredible experience, and I'll talk more about that. So we have two main ministries within Love Inc. Our Connection Center and our Transformation. Our Connection Center is that model where we have folks in our phone bank that are receiving phone calls from our neighbors that may have some basic needs to be met or financial needs to be met. And we have folks from our church network that are trained and to listen. Active listening is the first step to listen to the story and to help and to understand the person on the other end of the phone. It's people who call us. The first introduction to Love Inc. is through our Connection Center, and we train our volunteers. Again, this goes back to redemptive compassion principles. So they're trained, they're practiced, usually with our more seasoned volunteers. But it's an opportunity to listen to their story and then connect neighbors in need with those resources the churches have. And those resources right now, this is what we provide through our church network: baby essentials, bus passes, gas cards, cleaning supplies, food, household essentials, kitchen essentials, and I'm not going to read the whole list. And we have cost share programs, appliances, car-related expenses, cell phone repairs, or cell phone costs, mattresses. I know, like, and we tend to be the only nonprofit that does provide mattresses for people in need. We're the only ones that provide water bill, assistance with water bills up to $150. We're I think we're the only one of the few that do car related expenses, and that could not only be repair. That may be getting your registration, helping you out with your car note, helping you out with your insurance, or maybe paying for the class if someone has had an OWI, to help them through pathways to pay for that class so they can get their license back. So those are opportunities. We also mobilize. You see a picture there. Churches that want to provide a weekend opportunity to impact their community, we'll schedule those, whether it's yard cleaning or maybe helping elderly move furniture, other things like that, within the Cedar Valley. So that's the physical, financial things that we do provide. And this next slide is taking a little bit. Okay. Oh, excuse me. So again, going back to mobilization, what does that look like? This is Jenny's Jamboree. My predecessor, Jenny Nelson, was in this position for 20 months. She took on this position and was diagnosed with cancer and passed 20 months later. And one of her dreams was to connect the church with the community in a fun, family-friendly atmosphere. And so when we set up a memorial fund in her name, it's solely to support a community-wide event to celebrate our families in our community that may not have the financial means to afford a day at Palmer's Park and have an opportunity to ride the go-karts and be in the batting cages. But oh, by the way, we also had 20 church partners set up and provide food and provide other activities and face painting and balloons. And we invited and we worked with our other nonprofits in the Cedar Valley to work with those families that are with other organizations, whether it be Alternatives, the Joe Foundation, House of Hope, and Head Start, along with families that are in our transformation ministry, to celebrate those families and provide them a means to have a fun day and connect with the churches. And what was great about that, every family walked away from that event with every vacation Bible school schedule, with every summer camp opportunity, all those things that a lot of times, whether a single mom family or single parent family, maybe like, well, it'd be nice if I could get my kid and my child to be in some camp this week so I can have some respite. So and also connect with churches. So it was a really neat event. So we're going to host this every year, God willing. So let's talk about our transformation ministry. This is the second part of Love Inc. Our transformation ministry, we host 2 classes or 2 programs. Our Begin Now is a 10-week session that we host in the beginning in September and then also in January. And these 10-week sessions, we host multiple classes that people could sign up for, whether it's financial literacy or it's affirming potential. Affirming potential is a class that's you deconstruct the past to understand your present, to develop goals for your future. Parenting class, and we have our Loving National provides us a curriculum, and then we have volunteers from the church that are experts in these various fields. Like the person teaching our parenting class, we actually have some family therapists from one of our partner churches that are helping teach that class. Our our affirming potential is taught by a professor, a retired professor who's worked in family services and social work uh, field. So using their talents and gifts to spend time and invest in folks in our community. And what's neat about the Begin Now classes, we host that at First Presbyterian over in East Waterloo, across from Lincoln Park on Tuesday nights. We got anywhere from 70 to 80 people who gather that evening, and we'll probably have 50 or 60 participants, and we'll have maybe 20 or 30 volunteers from the various church partners, but we all wear the same name tag, and no one knows who's a participant and who's a volunteer, and we eat a meal together. We break bread together, we spend some time, and over that course of those 10 weeks, the trust, the relationships begin. And it's very powerful to see folks that are like, wow, I'm in a community that cares about me and invests that loves me. And then, oh, by the way, I'm learning how to budget. Or I'm learning, like, oh my goodness, this past trauma is the reason why I'm not in this relationship today, and these kind of things. And we try to take down every barrier to attend those courses. We provide transportation for those who don't have transportation. We provide a meal. We provide childcare during those Tuesday evenings. And we've grown this to now, we're also hosting it on Thursday mornings this coming September over at Ascension Lutheran, which is located behind Iowa Works and Pathways across from Green Hill from the women's shelter. So we're trying to go in areas where people have accessibility to attend these classes. Alpha is our summer program that we do. It's an international class that's what's the meaning of life? What's my purpose? And it's a safe space for people to explore their spirituality. And we hosted that this summer at Harvest Vineyard over in the Walnut neighborhood, and over at the Hope Cities Dream Center over there by East High School on Tuesday nights and Thursday mornings. So it's been a great opportunity for folks to come together and build community and using the gifts and talents of the church. And this is what it looks like: celebration, communication, growing together in community. It is a true a true mix of diversity of our community, and I absolutely love it. And when you hear some of the testimonies, I know this next video won't play, but on this next slide, I would have shown a video of Vicky. Vicky was a widow, and she got invited because she's like, I don't have community right now. I'm lonely. And so she started off in our financial literacy course for the first 10 weeks, and she got new friendships. She stuck with it for another 2 10-week sessions. When you do 3 10-week sessions, you're a graduate. Well, at the end of those 3 10-week sessions, she paid off 6 credit cards and was completely out of debt. And she's connected to a church. She's got a new friend circle, and she's a joy. And she's going to volunteer this year with our Begin Now. So people often will look at poverty as a material poverty, but there's so much social isolation, and or you may be in a community that doesn't have your best interests at hand. So it goes beyond just that material poverty. So many folks gain the community aspect from our transformation ministry. So our redemptive compassion, these are the 6 principles we operate with. When you call into our connection center with a need, we have a very scripted thing for our volunteers to go through that goes through these steps. we're reminding people of their value. Oftentimes, folks that call us, there's oftentimes there's trauma, or there's like, I'm just in survival mode, and or they've been subjected to I would say the system, where it's like, I've lost my value. Who am I? And that's one of our questions. Like, what are your dreams? Where would you like to see yourself? Like, how have you been blessed? If it's not been in the past week, when was the last time that you felt blessed? What does that look like? And to try to try to remind them of their value. We're all about relationships. That connection center and meeting those basic needs. At the end of that phone call, we offer prayer. Now, 90% of the time, people said yes, pray, and our volunteers are trained to listen. As they actively listen, they're learning about they hear their children's names, and that's part of the prayer. If someone doesn't want to pray, or they that's fine too. We're like, well, thank you so much, and we end that conversation, but we're still meeting that need. And then when people come to the church to pick up their food box, it was great. We had a family come into River's Edge 2 weeks ago, and they just moved here, and they just started a new employment, and they didn't have enough money for food, and just had a lot to get off their chest. So they go in the River's Edge. They're met, warm, happy smile, welcome, pick up your food pantry items, and the volunteer there is like just asking about where they moved from, where they're coming from, and then just it was the mom, and she's like, she's kind of tearing up a little bit, and so the volunteer's like, let me get a cup of coffee. Let's go get a pot of coffee and sit down at the table. And they sat down table, and just an opportunity to share. I mean, the food box is great. That's food in the belly, but that opportunity to share with someone who's willing to listen and love them, it's really neat. So we relational opportunities is where we hope to grow folks from the connection center to our transformation, if that's to invest in them relationally. We see everybody. Our faith teaches that everyone has potential. We always require a mutual contribution. That's a key component. That's the reason why that back to school store, you may be getting $60-$70 worth of supplies, but you're paying $10. You might be walking away from a Christmas store with $60 of gifts, but you've paid, 10. So we always require a mutual contribution, and we are, as a faith-based organization, we look to our Father in prayer to give us guidance in those moments, and if we have a tough conversation with someone on the phone, or we're listening to that trauma, it gives us an opportunity to step back and pray, and as volunteers and staff to depend on each other to help us through some of those tough times. And we always serve in ways that transform. Um, some of that means that after a certain amount of met needs, we had that conversation like, what steps can we take in transformation? And sometimes those conversations, like we had this summer, we had a lady and a single mom who's like, she met our threshold of how many needs were going to be met. We're like, hey, we'd love to continue to meet your needs, but we're asking for you to step into our community gathering, into our transformation program, and join a community of people who love you and want to invest in you. And you're going to learn some new skills, and we'll continue to meet those needs. And now, here she is getting ready to finish this session up this summer, and she's just like, oh my gosh, I never realized how incredible this is. And she's already signed up for our fall session. We're to continue to meet those needs, and she's making these small baby steps forward in her own life with employment and other things, where she doesn't have to necessarily be dependent upon Love Inc. or other community agencies to meet those basic needs. So that's the way we want to serve. So ways to get involved. We're always in need of volunteers, and you don't have to be a member of one of our church partners. Uh, we do require our volunteers to adhere to the Apostles' Creed. We want you to be a member of a faith community here in the Cedar Valley of a Christian faith. And so volunteer. We're always needing volunteers. You see those numbers that we try to mobilize per month. Like us on social media, share our feeds. Um, if you're a member of a church not on our list, connect me to your church. Donate. Um, where does that donation go to? Almost 80 cents of every dollar is going to help someone directly. Whether that's in our transformation program, which is called Begin Now, or maybe it's going to our connection center where we're meeting basic needs, and then uh, 23 cents or almost 20 cents of that is going to our operational budget, which includes the leadership, the accountability, the oversight, the financial management, the marketing. So those donations are served well here in the Cedar Valley in the name of Christ. And I like to close with this scripture, and this is what my faith informs me. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. Man, I always get choked up. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you took care of me. I was in prison and you visited me. And this is where in our faith, um, Jesus is speaking this to a group, and they're like, "Well, we didn't do these for you, Jesus." And he goes, "This for the very least, you are serving me. You don't know when you're serving me directly." And and we try to take that approach with everybody. Like we love our neighbors, and that's what's so powerful about the Love Inc. movement is that we can bring all these various denominations together and the great gifts that are within these various churches and the resources, and we can love our neighbors in the community to transform lives. Um, so I will close with that, uh, and I will mute myself, and then we can go with any questions.
That's great. Feel free. You can go ahead and stop sharing too, Glenn. That way people can see you a little bit clearer too as they're asking their questions. Feel free, if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask, feel free to drop those in the chat. You can either put them there or you can direct message them to me. So you choose, but throw them in the chat and we'll certainly get to your questions. We really appreciate the work that you and the 43 churches that you partner with are doing here in the Cedar Valley. It's to me, it's encouraging to see groups working together. Oftentimes we just see when we don't, maybe we're duplicating our services or there's just a little bit more chaos in who's providing what and how they're providing it. And so I just appreciate the coordinated effort that Love Inc. offers to a pretty large network that are kind of striving for the same goal. Tell us, what service area do you guys serve? So who is sort of eligible to call and how does that work through Love Inc.?
Thanks for the question. And I will preface this like we are a faith-based organization, but we provide services to everybody and anybody. We love our neighbors. We don't love our we never put a qualification based on faith or participation in prayer or participation in church services. So I want to put that out immediately, up front. So we believe that we serve the area where the local churches that are part of our network. So right now that includes Evansdale, Waterloo, and Cedar Falls. So those are the communities that we serve. And if someone from Jessup or Dunkerton or somebody called us and they need assistance, if they're a member or they attend church that's part of our network, we'll assist them. If they don't, we'll try to connect them to services. So our reception is very well trained with all the different partner organizations that we can connect people to and services in the community. And we have a good relationship with nonprofits that be like, okay, I need to make a phone call to this organization, or like we become, the the stamp of approval for gearheads as far as if someone's needing a vehicle. So those are opportunities there too. And we've actually trained our church partners. We give them a resource book. We go through it with them, and so because they do get walk-ins still, so.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Thank you for clarifying that. And for those who are here and listening later and maybe wanting to refer, maybe they work at a school or they work at a local organization and they're wanting to refer a family or an individual to the services of Love Inc. How do they get in? How does that individual get in touch with Love Inc? You mentioned a call center. How does that work? And then how do those requests essentially get submitted?
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. So we are not a crisis response center. It will take anywhere from 3 to 7 days from the phone call to potentially getting the need met because we are dependent upon volunteers. And so 9 to noon, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. every day, Monday to Friday during the work week, we receive phone calls at 319-266-1264. And we have our volunteers on hand to receive those requests. And then once we receive that initial request, one of our volunteers will be contacting the person either in the morning or in the afternoon. We keep volunteers in the afternoon. We just don't do intake. We don't have people calling in the afternoon. So from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., 319-266-1264, people can call in. And if there's a special need, sometimes we'll have people call in and they're Spanish speaking, or maybe they might be French speaking. We'll get their information. Well, at least we can see the phone call, and we at least try to get their name. And then we have volunteers who speak. Yeah, we have French speaker and volunteer and a Spanish speaking volunteers that will come in and we'll make that phone call and work with that person in need, that neighbor in need, to meet those.
Wonderful. Is there the ability, and Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong, is there the ability to submit any requests online, or is it just phone calls at this time?
It's just phone calls.
Okay.
We've done online, and as a volunteer-based organization, like if we, sometimes because depending on the day, we're getting anywhere from like maybe 20 to 30 phone calls, but on some high days we may get up to 100 phone calls. Well, and we've experienced we will, if we open up our online, we'll get anywhere from 200 to 300 requests online. Yeah, so it just becomes overwhelming.
It's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Tell me a little bit more about, I think the Begin Now experience, these 10-week classes that people are participating in are so transformational for people who are entering into those classes. You mentioned a budgeting class, an affirming potential class, and some others that are helping people to just gain skills that they might need or community that they might need. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the volunteers are experiencing as well in that space? Sometimes we forget that the folks who are under-resourced are receiving and they're learning in that environment, but our volunteers also, I think it's such a great opportunity that they're getting a chance to learn maybe about a different group or neighbors that they wouldn't normally be rubbing shoulders with every day. So tell me a little bit more about what the volunteer experience looks like as well. And that way also, if we're going to refer our friends, this might be a good landing spot for people.
Thank you. That's such a great question. So we transform lives and communities in the name of Christ. Well, that transformation is both ways. And what's incredible is that folks who volunteer with us, particularly, not everybody may work in the realm of assistance, and unless you're like volunteering regularly, sometimes you don't know who your neighbors are. And so it's really neat to see folks step into those volunteer roles, and we prepare them, we train them, and then there's so many like bridges crossed across our community. And that's what I love about the Cedar Valley. We are such a diverse community, whether it's racially, socioeconomic. We got different languages. I mean, it's incredible, and it's sometimes some of the biggest growth I see was within our volunteer population as far as gaining new friendships with folks they would have never gained had an opportunity to meet and or gain a friendship with. And we had this one UNI student who was driving this mom and her children to our Begin Now programming, and that UNI student was just, I mean, she was truly transformed after that experience, working with that mom and became friends with that mom. Like it was really neat to see that generationally difference uh, uh, come together through friendship in that role.
Yeah, that's really great. Thank you for sharing a story like that, because I think and this that classroom environment is similar to others in the like Job Foundation and some of the others. House of Hope has some ways in which they have their volunteers interacting with the folks that they're serving, and very relationally focused. And I just appreciate that type of opportunity that's available for a volunteer, how to kind of dive in deeper. And some people want that type of relationship, and they want that type of opportunity to get to know neighbors in this community. So I just appreciate that Love Inc. has a space for that. And thank you for spelling it out a little bit more for us. What are some of the most frequent needs that you hear from our community members right now? Is there anything that's kind of bubbling up to the top, or anything that we should be aware of as I don't know, specific needs that our neighbors have right now?
One thing that I'm struck by, and food insecurity is a big issue. Food insecurity has been a we just seen that request. I mean, like we actually, one of our food pantry partners, I mean, they're running out of food, and so that's one that we're seeing a big growth in. Bedding, mattresses. Of course, we're the only one that provides mattresses in the Cedar Valley. So we provide mattresses on the first of the month. So on the first of the month, we'll give up the 15 mattresses, based on, it's basically first call, first serve. So usually within 5 to 7 minutes, those are filled up. Water bills are, again, we're one of the few. I think we may be the only, if not one of the few, that does water bills. So that's always a big need. I mean, we're probably close to $20,000 a year that we do with water bills, but those tend to be some big items, uh, and some of the unique things that we do, that kitchen essentials. People move into a new apartment. Um, we have a lot of people that are moving here, whether for employment or for you know maybe someone's fleeing domestic violence, and they're moving to this area, and they're starting fresh. They have nothing. So, if we can get them a bed and some linens and get their kitchen essentials and cleaning supplies, that's a huge and met need um, in the community. And folks that are getting discharged from hospitals or getting discharged from assisted care, and they need to outfit their house with some of those basic medical supplies, we can provide that. And so,
Good.
but
And you can receive donations for those things as well, right?
that is correct. So we have on our website, loveinccv.org. We have a donation. We have a link there, like needed items, and you can either drop those off with us in our office space, or if you attend our church partners, we encourage our church partners. We have like a monthly items that we're kind of collecting, and then and then we'll shift all those items to the church that's hosting that ministry. So St. John's Lutheran Church, they're our linen ministry. So the month we're collecting linens and towels and stuff, we collect all those. We make sure they're clean and ready to go, and we move those to St. John's, and they have a whole team there that distributes beds and linens here in the Cedar Valley. So.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, how can we as a community, this is one of our favorite questions, how as we as a community, how can we best support you in this time? You've given us some good volunteer options and you've given us some good donation options, and I'm sure both of those are top of the list. Is there anything else that you would love to say about support or partnership with you?
I would say everybody has some capacity to make time to spend with someone that may be in need. I, the A lot of times, I think, particularly whether it's I was in the military, I lived all over the world, been all over the world, and a lot of times in America, we just throw money at problems. But to invest relationally in people is being someone's friend and listening to them, spending time with them, understanding their needs, and that whether it's you're doing that through Love Inc. or through some other organization, but that is powerful. It's stepping in the relationships, putting yourself in a position where you're encountering parts of your community that you feel a little uncomfortable with or you've just never encountered. Love Inc. can do that. I think I'd love you to join our team and volunteer with us, but whether that's with other nonprofits in Cedar Valley, we have a great uh, community and a great nonprofit community that's just pouring into people across the Cedar Valley, and the need is high, and there's not enough laborers. So I challenge folks to step outside their bubbles and serve with their hands and feet. Um, as a Christian, that's what Jesus did. He met people where they're at, and he served them where they're at, and they didn't know that, for us, that he's the Savior. So I would say step out and serve in a way physically that really makes a huge impact.
That's so good, Glenn. Thank you for that. Thank you for that message. I think that's one that we all need to hear, and especially in this season when things feel pretty divisive, and it feels like sometimes it feels like our neighbors are kind of far away, right? And it's just that's a really good reminder about how important it is to see each other as neighbors and as friends first, and to find ways in which we can be in better relationship with one another. So that's really good. It takes courage, and it takes time and capacity, and sometimes those are the things we need to do to move forward. So thank you. Thank you for spending time with us today, Glenn. We're so grateful. For anybody who's looking to get a hold of Love Inc., the website is loveincv.org. And I'm sure that Glenn would love to field any email you've got going his way today. So thank you for your time today, friends. We're going to get back together for our next Windows on Waterloo presentation on Wednesday, September 4th at 11 o'clock. And we get to hear from Karen Rowe over at the House of Hope. They have a brand new empowerment center. So this is a campaign that they are initiating, and they are growing their ability to serve this community and helping also to transform lives of single moms. We're just grateful for the work that they're doing here and grateful that we get to hear about it. So join us again on Wednesday, September 4th at 11 o'clock, and we'll hear from Karen Rowe. Thank you again, Glenn. We appreciate you. We appreciate Love Inc. and the work that you're doing here. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless everyone.
Thank you. All right. Have a wonderful day.